And you can't define woman, I mean person who menstruates. You're the teachers union education party and you've turned schools and colleges into a joke. You just lost a crazy contest to an actual crazy person. And there's a lot of stuff like that on the left. And when conservatives see it, they say, I'm sorry, we're just not going to go along with reinventing society, often pointlessly, even if we have to cancel democracy to do it. That's what they're saying.
It starts with a joke that isn't really a joke. A jab at a party that, in his words, can't even answer a basic question anymore. And it gets a laugh that tells you the room already agrees. But this isn't a Republican talking. This is a lifelong liberal. And he's just getting started.
Flag burning is free speech, and free speech is one of the key things that makes America great. So now that I have you on my side on that issue, don't be a hypocrite and defend attacks on speech from the left, because you either get the concept or you don't. And sadly, a lot of people don't anymore. Yes, mostly the young who were never taught it by their derelict educational system. But also Lisa Cook, she's the Fed board member. But when she tried to get another professor fired because he once, according to one student, was less than rapturous about Martin Luther King Day, no, she should know better. She said free speech should have its limits. Yes, it should, and does. And this comes nowhere close to them.
Here's the trap he sets, and it's a clever one. He opens by defending free speech from any direction, flag burning included. Then he flips it. If you cheered that, you don't get to look away when the censorship comes from the left. His Exhibit A, Fed board member Lisa Cook, accused of trying to get a professor fired over comments about MLK Day. The line lands hard. Free speech should have its limits, and this comes nowhere close to them.
And there's a lot of stuff like that on the left. And when conservatives see it, they say, I'm sorry, we're just not going to go along with reinventing society, often pointlessly, even if we have to cancel democracy to do it. That's what they're saying. They see gender as only a construct, and they say, we're not doing that. Transing kids by self-diagnosis with no age limit, no parental notification, and no acknowledgement of social contagion, not doing it. Asylum now covers any reason for anyone to come to America, not doing it.
Now he lays out the actual list, the specific things he says conservatives are refusing to accept. Gender as pure construct. Transitioning minors with no parental notice. Open-ended asylum claims. 3 times the same refrain, not doing it. It's not a policy speech. It's a warning shot.
And so, folks, if we are ever going to get back to the old America, that's got to be the Democrats' part of the bargain. Stop coming up with radically new and often terrible ideas, and then in the next breath insist there be no debate about any of it. That if you don't see it right away and go along, you're bad and deplorable. As if you were saying, duh, 2 + 2 = 5, isn't that obvious? Yeah, it's obvious you can't add. You can't just say math is racist, queers for Palestine, looting is cool, healthy at any weight. If the men's football team played the women's team, it would be a tie.
And here's where he defines the terms of the whole argument. If there's ever going to be a return to normal, he says the Democrats have to stop treating every radical idea as beyond debate. He rattles off the examples designed to sting the loudest. Math is racist, queers for Palestine, healthy at any weight, each one a jab meant to make the audience wince and laugh at the same time.
But the DSA are radicals about this concept, and radical economic policy is always ineluctably married to radical social policy. Their platform, for example, calls for completely open borders. They're for what Biden was doing, but more. You think you're going to win an election on that? This just seems like more extremism at a time when Americans are begging both parties, please, could just one of you act normal? It's either defund the police or military in the streets. Either MAGA's crypto crony capitalism or city-run grocery stores. No, I don't want that.
Then he turns on the more radical wing directly, the DSA, accusing them of marrying extreme economic policy to extreme social policy, open borders included. His question isn't rhetorical. You think you're going to win an election on that? It's the first time he says out loud what the whole monologue is building toward, that voters aren't asking for revolution. They're asking for normal.
There's a progressive trend now to sacrifice merit for equity. Colleges are chucking the SAT and ACT test, and in New York, Mayor de Blasio announced merit would no longer decide who gets into the schools for advanced learners, but rather a lottery system. You think China's doing that, letting political correctness get in the way of nurturing their best and brightest? You think Chinese colleges are offering courses in the philosophy of Star Trek, the sociology of Seinfeld, and surviving the coming zombie apocalypse? Those are real, and so is China, and they are eating our lunch. And believe me, in an hour, they'll be hungry again.
From ideology, he pivots to education, and this is where the monologue gets its sharpest comparison. Schools ditching the SAT, New York scrapping merit-based admissions for a lottery. And then the gut punch. While American schools debate the sociology of Seinfeld, he says China isn't. It's not subtle. It's not meant to be.
I've said it before, wokeness is not an extension of liberalism anymore. It's more often taking something so far that it becomes the opposite. Teaching kids not to hate or judge those who are different, great. Proud we got there, all for that. But at a certain point, inclusion becomes promotion. And contrary to current progressive dogma, children aren't miniature adults wise beyond their years, and they don't have any frame of reference. So they normalize whatever's happening. That's why endlessly talking about gender to 6-year-olds isn't just inappropriate.
Here's the closest thing to a thesis statement in the whole piece. Wokeness, he argues, stopped being an extension of liberalism and became its inversion. Good intentions taken so far they flip. Teaching kids not to judge each other, he's fully on board. But he draws a hard line at talking about gender with 6-year-olds, calling it not just wrong, but developmentally dishonest.
Which confirms something I wish wasn't true, but unfortunately is about, certainly not all, but too many Gen Zers. I don't know what they're teaching them in college these days, but they all seem to have majored in simplicity. Oppressed and oppressor. No in between. Healthcare, good guys and bad guys. Simple. Said, nobody knew that healthcare could be so complicated. He was wrong. It's not complicated. It's simple.
Then the generational jab, and it's a pointed one. He accuses a chunk of Gen Z of collapsing every complex issue into oppressed and oppressor, good guys and bad guys. His target, healthcare, a subject famously called complicated by a sitting president. Maher's rebuttal is blunt. It's not complicated. It's simple, just not the way they think.
And so here I am again, feeling like an old-school liberal at odds with the new politics of the far left, because it wasn't that long ago when liberals thought people who don't share your politics was bad, or at least a microaggression. Doesn't pumping someone full of lead verge dangerously close to mansplaining? When Sarah Palin posted a map with crosshairs on the districts of House Democrats she hoped to defeat in 2010, liberals went nuts. And where does all this lead? Both parties having death squads? So, Luigi, I say to you, good luck in prison, where being handsome always makes you popular. And congratulations on being a folk hero. But just know, you're not Robin Hood, you're not a hero. You're a typical member of your generation, too lazy to do the work to really understand an issue, but happy to pose as a social justice warrior for it. This is the same mentality I saw this month when internet lowlifes posted about their glee in watching the well-off people of Pacific Palisades lose their homes in the LA fires. It's a very popular mindset these days, summed up in the phrase, eat the rich. But kids, I've seen your media consumption, And I've seen your social media posts. You can't fool me. You don't hate the rich. You hate that you ain't the rich.
This is the emotional peak of the monologue, and the most controversial. He calls himself an old-school liberal at odds with the New Left, then draws a direct line from the 2010 backlash against Sarah Palin's crosshairs map to today's celebration of political violence. He addresses Luigi Mangione by name, sarcastically wishing him luck in prison, mockingly calling him a folk hero, before delivering the harshest line of the entire piece, that people cheering the LA fires destroying wealthy homes don't hate the rich. They hate that they aren't rich.
And then admit that in 2020, the left got a little carried away. Carried away, like most of the merch at this shoe store. Get it, carried away? Once in a while, they need a Looting was rebranded as justice shopping. We stopped arresting shoplifters. Anti-racist baby was a bestseller. Corporations took DEI to ludicrous lengths. We opened our hearts to all who wanted to come here, and then also our borders. Portland decriminalized all drugs, and Seattle set up a no-cop zone until they had to reverse course on both.
He softens just slightly into something closer to reflection than attack, asking the left to simply admit 2020 went too far. Looting rebranded as justice shopping. Shoplifting no longer prosecuted. Portland decriminalizing drugs. Seattle's no-cop zone. Each one, he notes, eventually had to be reversed. The joke lands, but the point underneath, it isn't a joke at all.
But I need to cite you as a cautionary tale to help my country. And the moral of that tale is, yes, you can move too far left. And when you do, you wind up pushing the people in the middle to the right. At its worst, Canada is what American voters think happens when there's no one putting a check on wokeness. Like the saga of Canadian shop teacher Kayla Lemieux, whose pronouns are she, her, and those. Kayla is now back to being a guy named Kerry, but 2 years ago when they showed up to teach children, the progressive high school they taught at said that they, the school, not the person. Really, you couldn't have found another word. We were using that one. Anyway, okay. They were committed to a safe environment for gender expression. Safe for who? What about the children?
Then he goes international, using Canada as what he calls a cautionary tale. His core argument, push too far left, and you push the center toward the right. His evidence is the story of Ontario teacher Kayla Lemieux, whose school defended safe space for gender expression, and Maher's response cut straight through it. Safe for who? What about the children?
Let me tell you, folks, if the standards on the left are going to be this high, and politics is going to be this much of a cock block, we're never going to win elections or have any more babies. This inclination from certain liberals to always and immediately excommunicate instead of communicate is what makes them so unlikable. And I'm sorry, Sarah, to make you the poster child for this, but come on. I mean, look at this stiff. What'd you expect? Okay, you're a much better person than he is. You win. And by win, I mean lose. Christ, first we couldn't date people who had opposite political beliefs. Now we can't even date them if they have no opinion at all?
Back to something smaller but telling, the culture of excommunicate instead of communicate. He needles a guest at the table, but the bigger point is about dating. First, you couldn't date someone with opposing politics. He says, now you can't even date someone with no opinion at all. It's a small moment, but it's doing the same work as everything else, arguing the left has made purity a requirement, even in personal life.
But my question is, if it's such an important liberal cause, why didn't you do it 10 years ago? Or 20? Or in 1975? Maybe I should be copying an attitude with you. Because, no, I remember in the 90s on my old show, Politically Incorrect. Thank you. Nicely remember. No, I remember speaking in support of the idea that should be legalized, and it was considered very politically incorrect. It was certainly not the liberal point of view back then. It was the libertarian point of view. But, you know, in America, if you don't like the position of any particular political faction, just wait, they'll switch it up.
Here, the tables briefly turn. Someone challenges him. Why wasn't this a liberal cause decades ago? And Maher doesn't dodge it. He goes back to his own show, Politically Incorrect in the 90s, and admits that legalization was a libertarian position back then, not a liberal one. It's a rare moment of self-aware history in the middle of an otherwise one-directional argument, a reminder that political labels move.
And you can't define woman, I mean person who menstruates. You're the teachers' union education party, and you've turned schools and colleges into a joke. You just lost a crazy contest to an actual crazy person. You love to speak truth to power, and we always should, but you have completely lost the ability to speak truth.
Almost the same line from the top of the show repeated, but this time landing with everything that's come before it stacked underneath. You've completely lost the ability to speak truth. It's not a new point. It's the accumulated weight of every clip before it.
Maybe take the clothespins off your noses and actually converse with the other half of the country. Stop screaming at people to get with the program and instead make a program worth getting with. What good is liberalism if you don't win elections? Last week, Massachusetts Congressman Seth Moulton said, "I have 2 little girls. I don't want them getting run over on a playing field by a formerly male athlete. But as a Democrat, I'm supposed to be afraid to say that." Yes, there's the problem in a nutshell. Because Congressman Moulton sounds reasonable to me, but his campaign manager immediately resigned in protest. Let me make this as plain as I can to the smart people. The campaign manager who resigned, yeah, let that person go. Marginalize that guy. Try making too woke be a cancelable offense. It's important for America to have a center-left party, and for that party to be competitive. And a good first step toward that goal would be to make the voters not want to punch you in the face. I will conclude by saying the reason I'm so mad at the Democrats is because as a voter, the issues that were important to me were democracy and the environment. And now, there's no one to champion or defend either of them because you, with your aggressively anti-common sense agenda and exclusionary attitude, blew it. You lost everything.
And here's where it all comes together. His closing exhibit is Congressman Seth Moulton, a sitting Democrat who said publicly he didn't want his daughters run over on a playing field by a formerly male athlete, and whose campaign manager resigned over the comment. For Maher, that resignation is the whole argument in miniature. His final ask isn't subtle. Stop making too woke, untouchable. Start making it something the party can reject. He ends not with a joke, but with a grievance that the 2 issues he says he actually cares about, democracy and the environment, now have no one left to champion them, because in his view, the party's anti-common sense agenda cost them the room to fight for either. Whether you think this is a liberal course-correcting his own side or a comedian punching down at easy targets, one thing is clear. Nobody in that room is laughing at the same joke for the same reason. And that, more than any single line, is the story these clips are actually telling.